Welcome back to edtech by Meera, beginner course in Python, and today we are going to discuss about the for loops, how to do and use the for loops in Python. So basically, as you know already, the loops, the for loops are used for iterating over a sequence. It could be a list, tuple, a set, string, dictionary, whatever. We will be showing you some examples of lists and strings here. So let's consider, without wasting much time, a list with the name of let's say names, and this names is going to be a list with these strings, that is different names we are going to store here in the list. Let's consider a few names for example's sake. You could have your own list or you could have your own string, whatever. Let's say Meena, Meera, Devi. These are my favorite names, so I just store them in the create a variable called names and use that as a list here. And how do I use the for loop? So for name in names. So I'll be looping through all the names for getting by looping through each and every name in the names. So that's why for name in names, print name. Yeah. So let's see what is printed. All the names individually. Meena, Meera, Devi. So this is the idea. So you can see how it is iterating between all the through each and every names. Yeah. So let's do some other examples. Looping through a string for letter in edtech by Meera. This is a string. Print the letter. So whatever you are saying as for X, print X. So it's like that. So you can see E, D, T, E, C, H, all the letters will be individually printed out. This is how it is looping and displaying the result. So you know what you mean already. So you cannot say for letter in edtech by Meera print Y, or for X in edtech by Meera print X. You could say that. So whatever for whatever variable here you're using, it has to be the same name you have to print out. Remember that, because you're looping through each and every letters or characters or names or items, for example. So it's like for this particular item, print out the item. So you can see here E, D, T, E, C, H. So that's how it goes. So basically you're looping through all the items and then printing out the item one by one. Each and every individual items you'll be printing out. So that's the idea of the for loop. So that is where you'll be, in that scenario, you'll be using the for loop. So I'm just commenting out all the done codes so that it will show you only one result in the console. So let's consider some more examples. Now, for loop can be used with a lot of control statements, like we had done earlier in while loop. So here, let's consider one of the control statement, break. Why control? Because with whatever condition given in the for loop, it can still exit. Like the for loop is happening, but how to exit it. So this we'll see in this example. So break means stop the loop. Yeah, so how do we do that? For, let's consider the same one, the name one. So for name in names, looping through all the names and then printing out the individual name. If name equal to means if this particular name equal to Meera, that's a condition, mind you. Then break. So if when the name equal, at the point when the name equals to Meera, break. So that means stop the loop, exit the loop at the point when the name equal to Meera. So let's see what's happening here. So I'm using the same example above for name in names, print name, and then I'm using if name equal to Meera, break. And let's see what's the result in the console. Meena and Meera. The last name Devi is not printed out. Why? Because the moment it says, the condition is when the name reaches the value of Meera, break. Break out of the loop. It means exit the loop, stop the loop. So the other name, whatever follows Meera, in this case Devi, but if there are more names also, it will not do the continue with the iteration. It will stop the iteration. So that's the reason we got only until the point where there is Meera. Let's consider more examples. Now here, what I did, the print statement, I just shifted it to the bottom. Earlier it was in the top. So in that case, we only get meena because the break is before the print. So when that happens, then it will exit even before it reaches meera. So only meena will be printed out. So that's a very important point. The main point being the break is before the print statement. Let's consider some more control statements like continue. So continue is slightly different. Let's see how it works. What it does is, unlike the previous case, it will stop the current iteration of the loop, but it will continue to the next loop. So that's the difference. So let's consider with the same. So I just remove break and I write continue here. Just that, nothing else. With the last example where we were using the break, I just write continue. So let's see what happens. If name equals to meera, continue. And then for name in names, if name equal to meera, continue. And then print the name. So let's see what happens in this code block. Meena and Devi. Meera is not printed, right? Because it will jump to the next loop. So it will ignore the value. So if name equal to Meera, at that point, it will jump to the next loop and ignore this value. So this is done in a situation where you do not want to print Meera. If you want to, Meera, sorry. So if you want to ignore Meera and do not want to print Meera, then you have to use continue and not print and not break. Remember that. So whenever you want to ignore or miss a value, when you don't want to print out a particular item inside the console, you want to ignore it, then you will use a continue statement, because that is when it will stop the iteration and jump to the next loop, whereby this particular value will be missed out, skipped. Okay, next, let's consider another function which is used with the for function, that is the range function. So this happens when there's a range of values. For example, for x in range 6. So here the parameter value used, or the argument, is 7, for example. You can use anything, 7, 6, 2, depends. Yeah. So for x in range 6, where x is a variable here, iterative variable. So for x in range 7, for example, print x. So what do you get in the result? Okay. Remember, whenever you use a range value like this, the default value is 0, starting value. And the ending value will be 1 less than the range mentioned. So I mentioned 7, so it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not including the endpoint 7, but starting with default value 0. Now what if you want to overrule the default value? You want to have a specific start. So then you have to specify in the parameter. When you write 2, 7, that means it starts with 2, not 0, and ends with 1 less than 7. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So by default, it will be, if you mention here, adding every time while iteration plus 1. So what if you want, so by default starting point is 0, by default incrementing by 1. And last point always doesn't include the last range mentioned. What if you want to change the incrementing style, not resort to the default? So here, then you have to write 3 parameters. The start point, let's say in this case I want to do 1, 25, that is the range, and 2, that is the incrementing value. So what will be your output? Starting with 1. 1 plus 2, 3. 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 2, 7. 9, 11, 13. Incrementing by 2. 15, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I can't have 25, right? Because what is the range? If it is 25, it has to be, if you remember, cannot include the last point. It's 25 is the last point of the range, so it cannot include 25. It has to be less than 25 here. The last point is 23 because incrementing by 2. Had it been incrementing by 1, I could have written 24 until 24. So the first is the start point, then the range, comma, comma, and another comma, the incrementing value, if you want to change the default behavior of incrementing, and if you want here to change the default value of the start argument. So now you know how to do. Now let's consider another example in which we are using the else. We are using else keyword in the for loop, the else condition statement in the for loop. So how does it combine? How does else combine in the stand in the for loop? Let's see how it happens with the range function here. So for x in range, whatever example, let's say we continue with 7. So for x in range, do not forget the colon, mind you, for conditional statements. For is a conditional statement. And then what I say, print x. So this is like before what we have done. Now I have to combine it with else. So for x in range, so for considering the x values, x items in range 7, print the items x. Else, if not that, else print, give a statement like done or finally done, finally finished, I finished, whatever you want to say, trying to show that you've done the job. So else print done. So this is just a simple example. So let's see the result. So default behavior 0, 1, 2, 3, incrementing by 1, starting with 0, 4, 5, 6. And in the 7th point, remember you cannot write 7 as it is. It has to be 1 less than 7. Here it says in the last point, something is mentioned, done. Usually, if else is not there, finishes at 6. But since you've written else, so the last point is done, because that was your condition, else print done. So after 6 you will have done in place of 7. So that's how you combine the else with for loop. So basically this will specify a block of code to be executed when the loop is finished. Here the loop is finished, so then you will specify what is to be done. What code is to be executed, sorry. Okay. Now let's consider another example. Let's go back to the main PY. Okay. Here I wrote break. So I combined the break statement in the for and else. So then what happens if I do the break? If I do the break, I get 0, 1, 2, 3. Why? Because at the point when I've said if x equal to 3, break, or x equal to 4, break. In this case, f equal to 4, break. So what happens? Until the point 4, it will continue with the iteration and then stop. Now let's comment out this code. Let's consider some more examples. Okay, let's consider the nested loops. That is, loop within a loop. So let's see how it happens. This is quite interesting. This is for usually when you do it for projects involving maybe lists, dictionaries, tuples and all that. So in this case, we are considering 2 lists. Okay, so one is, let's say it's a list called size. The name of the list is size. So I'm storing the different types of sizes in this size list. So let's say big, small, extra big, and things like that. Yeah. Just for example's sake, it could be something else, but I'm just showing it with a simple example so you can follow better. With silly, simple examples are easier to follow, right? Real life situations. So size could be big, size could be small, medium, large, extra large, etc., etc. Yeah, extra big or extra large, whatever. So this is for the size. Because if we keep writing A, B, X, Y, you won't follow. So that's why I'm using some real life variable names. Okay, so size and then fruits. Okay, so because this is possible, right? Fruits could be big, small, medium, right? So then after that, I consider another list of items, fruits, with some names of fruits. My favorite ones, haha, berry, cherry, dates. These are my favorite, mind you. So I just keep writing those names. Ha ha. Berry, cherry, and dates. So now one is a size list, another one is a fruits with the names of the fruits stored inside it. Now I want to use the for loops. So instead of saying X, Y, and all, I say for size. I should have written sizes there, then I could have written for. So there's another way, guys. I could have mentioned the list of sizes and say for size in sizes, but never mind, you can also do it this way. For dimension in size, also okay. But better would have been just plural and singular. So for dimension in size, and then within that nested another loop for fruit in fruits. Yeah, so it could be for size in sizes, for fruit in fruits, would sound better just that. So what you want to print dimension, comma, fruit. So it could be print size, comma, fruit, something like that. And see, interesting result will come up with permutation and combination of both the lists, like quite crazy, you'll see in the result. So this becomes two-dimensional. Let's see. There you go. Oh, wow. So it's like permutation of each and every fruit, like big berry, small berry, small cherry, small date, medium berry, medium date. You know, like all the combinations, like you've heard of combination permutation in mathematics. So this works out like that. All the combinations. So from first dimension, big berry, big cherry, big date. Then small berry, small cherry, small date. Medium berry, medium cherry, medium. Extra big berry, extra big cherry, extra. So it's like permutation with all the values. So this is what happens when you use a nested loop in this case. Okay. Then let's consider this is the last example exercise here. Let's consider the pass statement. It's called the pass statement because for loops, remember, usually cannot be empty, but in some scenarios, if you have an empty for loop with no content, then usually the developers will use the pass statement to avoid getting an error. That's it, nothing major. So let's say it's an empty one here. So for x in, we consider some items, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, etc. Then after that, for so and so items here in these numbers, for x in so and so numbers, we just say pass. We didn't write any other code block. And then just check here, no error statement. No result, but no error statement. So because if you're not sure what to write, you have no content to write over there, you just leave it as pass so that you don't. But let's say in a scenario where you remove the pass from there and just write for x in so and so, you see what happens. So I'm going to hide it. I'm going to hide it by using the comment. I'm going to comment out and just write for x in so and so list. See what happens without any other code block. The code is throwing some error statements. Always definitely happens. So this is not, pass statement is not very important. Just showing is, usually you don't come across in many cases for beginners. This is only when you're experienced developer, but just showed it all the same. So see you in the next with more with an interesting project. Next time is going to be a project. Until then, stay subscribed, smash the subscribe button and the bell button for more